Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chatting with Campbell. And I've got to say, it's the big one this weekend, or is it? Listen, let's get on with it first. I want to welcome Lee Judges back, the main man, and Dapper Dan. How are you doing, guys?
All good, thank you, Kev. All good. Not
Good.
too happy when I see when fucking faces down below, horrible Tottenham fucking supporters. But other than that, all right, like, you know what I mean? All right.
And I'd like to welcome Tobes and Fawad from the opposition, from the Spurs. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good.
All good. We're surviving. We're trying to get there.
Yeah,
We're trying to get
You're
there.
trying to get there. All right.
Yeah.
So look, let's talk about the elephant in the room right now, guys. Let's speak to Tobes and Foward to start with, because they've done it and got away with it. COVID cases and having a break and getting your training ground shut down. What's your thoughts on Arsenal looking to do it now? And were you happy when it happened, obviously, at Spurs?
So, do you want to go first, or should I
Go first, Tobes. Go on.
So, Kev, I think the situation at Arsenal is a lot different to the situation at Spurs, because when we had our games postponed, we actually had like a crazy amount of confirmed COVID cases, positive cases. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fuad, but I think it was around 13, 14 cases.
Yeah.
I think 9 first-team players and a
Staff,
couple
right?
academy players, and I think the
staff.
rest were either academy players and staff. Yeah, so we actually had legitimate grounds to get that game postponed, and even the game itself was Brighton. That was the game where we requested for a postponement. Prior to that, the only other game we had postponed was Burnley, and that wasn't even because of COVID. It was Burnley's
weather related, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Weather related.
Burnley's rubbish pitch. That was the reason why we were not able to play that game. Now, the Arsenal situation is annoying from our perspective if you just take Arsenal in isolation, because it seems like a lot of the factors were in your control. Granit Xhaka, nobody asked him to go get himself sent off.
Hey, let's not even go there.
No, it's the
Let's
truth.
not even go there. Tell you.
The Premier League, the rules are the rules, but the rules are flimsy. But nobody asked Granit Xhaka to get himself sent off. Nobody asked you to loan out Ainsley Maitland-Niles before you brought in a replacement midfielder. You sold Joe Willock in the summer. You didn't bring anyone in, so you're already light in midfield anyway. You knew Partey and El Neni were off to AFCON. You knew Aubameyang and Pepe were off to AFCON. You knew this was happening. So it's not something that's just come up out of nowhere. But where I sympathize with Arsenal is the rules technically state that if you can't field a team consisting of 13 at-field players, then you have valid grounds to get the game postponed. And according to what we're seeing now, reports, you lot have amassed a number of injuries since the Liverpool game that has resulted in you not being able to field 13 at-field players. And then I think you know what you're doing. You're pulling a fast one. But when you look at teams like Wolves, Leicester, even Liverpool with their dodgy COVID cases last week as well, it's not an Arsenal thing. It's a Premier League thing, because they have essentially opened Pandora's box a couple of weeks back and have let teams put in flimsy ass excuses for why their game should be postponed, and the Premier League have let it happen. So now when Arsenal are doing it, yeah, I'm going to be angry at Arsenal, because I actually want the game to go ahead. I want to watch Spurs, but ultimately, I'm not really going to die if the game gets postponed. I don't really care. We'll play you at full tilt.
Nah, I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm sorry.
No, I hear it, Fuad. We'll beat you anyway, but I just think when you see other teams take the piss, you're going to think, if they're taking the piss, I can take the piss as well. So
that's exactly what's happening, bro. That's exactly what's happening. And I'm not having it from Arsenal as well, from a team who's so braggadocious about their academy. Oh, the Haaland Wonder Boys, the Haaland kids. Where are they now? Yeah? Now that you need them to step up, go to the under-23s, go and call them up. Patino, all of these that get hyped up on Twitter. The other thing as well, lest we forget, once upon a time, if I'm not mistaken, it's one COVID case at the minute that's reported out.
Odegaard.
Yeah, Odegaard. So one. So the rest is all AFCON and injuries. But lest we forget, Tobes, Lasagna Gate. When we had 8 first-team players out, yeah, we reported an entire team was sick ahead of a top 4 vital game, last game of the season. Facts. And what did they say? no excuses. So listen, we're not having revisionism now.
Bro.
We go ahead, and especially when it's such a big game as well. I just feel like, listen, we've already had enough cancellations. As I said before the stream as well, if we're going to keep cancelling games like this, then we need to have a pause in the season and just get this sorted. Like, whatever parameters need to be put in place, put them in place. But at the minute, if we're going to keep cancelling games left and right, it's a mess.
I just think they need to make the rules more stringent. They make the rules tougher.
Guys,
Make them tougher.
One thing I will say is, it's two things. Obviously, the Gooner, who was the cook, knows that the Spurs boys love the lasagna, obviously. And I want the game to be played. I don't know what, Dan, and I'm going to come to you, Lee. I want the game to be played. I don't want the game to not be played.
Well,
Regardless, Lee, you tell me, Lee. Dan.
For personal reasons, I want the game to go in. I want to go to Spurs. You know what I mean? Yeah. But ultimately, you know, it can't be on, can it? You've got not enough players to fulfil the fixture. Like, you know, it's all right with them down there, those bloody Spurs fans. You know what I mean? They was all locked up with COVID in their hotel, like training away, like no problems. You know what I mean? Like, you know, saying they got COVID and there they were training. But I'm very well done because they've got an hotel in their training complex. So they was all isolating, but being able to train, but that's by the by. The lasagna thing, that's a great point. That is, by the way, that is a great point because they were made to play that day, which was farcical, really. Like, you know what I mean? If I'll be honest, but let's get some facts straight about Arsenal, right? 6 cases in all at the beginning of the season against Brentford and Chelsea, and were made to play, right? And we carried on, and we did play. And we've played through all these things that have gone on for us so far. We've had to play Norwich when we've had COVID. We've had lots of COVID cases that we've had, and we've then had to get on with it. But ultimately, what's happened is it's just taking its toll. You know what I mean? Like playing these games, and as the guys have rightly said, you know, Liverpool. Listen, Arsenal have been upfront and honest and said, look, we've got injuries and everything, blah, blah, blah. We're not making false allegations of COVID tests and things like that, like what Liverpool done, which was going well above and away from the things. But as the guys have already said, was it Leicester and Everton played at the weekend in the FA Cup, and then 2 days later the game gets called off because they've not got sufficient players. So teams are doing it. You know what I mean? And at the end of it, you know, like I get that Spurs want to play us when we've got our under-23s out, like, you know, and things like that, because they know if we've got our full team out, that we're a better side than them now these days, which has changed over the last couple of years. But ultimately, I will say this. If Arsenal sign 2 players, and I do really believe, I think the Southampton manager said that, say for Arsenal sign a midfield player and a centre-forward, right, they should not be able to play against Spurs. They should not be able to play against the teams that have been called off against. Arsenal should play the squad that was available when everybody's fit for that date. So, for instance, if Arsenal signed a midfield player tomorrow, he should not be able. If they signed a midfield player after cut-off day, yeah. So today he could actually sign, and he wouldn't be eligible. He cannot play in that Spurs fixture, whether it's against March, April, and May, because I think that, you know, that I don't think that's fair, because we're meant to be playing them now, and the squad is not up to sufficient standards at this moment in time. So you can't say to them like, oh, we've signed, I don't know, just for instance, Mbappe and Haaland, and they're playing in the next fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
Why not?
Because the game should be like this weekend. So you know, and what?
So hold on, Lee. So hold on. Let me ask you this then, Lee, because you make a good point. But let me ask you this: Spurs were playing Burnley, and the game was called off because of the weather. So then, if Spurs make signings now and then they play Burnley, why is it different? Why?
Because it's not, you know, like that's been there forever, like the weather and things like that. I just think we're in a different time at this moment in time.
But I get what you're saying. We're talking about a cancelled game here. So
yeah, but we're cancelling the game
COVID. But whether it's COVID or whether it's weather, there's
right. I'll tell you what.
So we can't differentiate. That's my point.
I see that. But what you can say is, like, with weather, it can't be planned. You know what I mean? Well, at this moment in time,
COVID
you've got like
can't be.
No, but injuries can. You can turn around and say, "Oh, he's got an injury," and just all of a sudden turn around and go, "Oh, we've got 6 injuries." Do you know what I mean? Like you can't make up a snowfall. You know what I mean? That just happens. You know what I mean? So, look, I do think that things need to be changed. I don't think it's fair from that point of view. But I've always said this, and my beef is never. If you go back and look at tweets that I've seen, when Tottenham had their COVID issues, I said Tottenham should not be made to play that game because of it. Like Liverpool. What gets me is that when they have to change it for the fans, like, you know what I mean? I.e., Arsenal had to play the game at Liverpool, and then we have to play on a Sunday when we was meant to be playing Burnley on a Saturday. That's what gets my goat a little bit, like, you know. But ultimately, listen. If Spurs had injuries today, I know I've said it in a tweet as well. I wouldn't want to play Spurs with 6 or 7 players out. You know, they've got. I'll tell you what, Spurs are weak without Son in their side. You know, what I mean, when this game goes ahead, he's going to be available. He's a pain in the arse to us. I'd rather play without him. But ultimately, you know, this is what I'm saying. I think it's fair in love and war, like, you know what I mean. Unfortunately, it's come against Spurs. But
all right then, Lee. Let me ask Dan. Dan, is it the clarity? Because certain teams get away with doing it, certain teams don't. Is it the clarity of the situation of the Premier League? And what's your thoughts on? Do you want the game to go ahead?
I 100% want the game to go ahead. 100% I do. I've been looking forward to this one as everyone else has. Do I think we're pulling a fast one? Yeah, I think we probably are. But who isn't at the moment? Tell me a Premier League club that wouldn't do the same thing. We were all crying last week about Liverpool, and now it's Arsenal's turn to get the hate. We played 3 games at the start with the 5 or 6 COVID cases that Lee's talking about, and we were depleted at Liverpool and against Nottingham Forest. But we cracked on with it. Now it's our turn to have a break. Tottenham had a few weeks off to go and chill out and get their training methods done. I don't think it's done too much, mind you. But let's just give us this game now, if that's what the way is. If it gets to the stage where we cannot put out a team, that's fine for me. If we're trying to pull a fast one, for me it's wrong, but everyone else is doing it. So I don't get that outrage. I understand Spurs are frustrated, and we were the other way around. We would be exactly the same as Tobes and Fuad, yeah? We want to play it. I don't know what Lee's talking about, if I'm honest, in terms of that. But I mean, like with signing someone and then they're not allowed to play. I mean, if we play again, the Son is not allowed to play because he's back from injury. Do you know what I mean? We just got to get on with it. This is going to happen, man. This is the way it's going to be now this season. This is not going to be the last case. This is going to happen to other teams. It may even happen to Tottenham next week, and we're all in the same. And then Tobes and Fuad are outraged. So I think it's the way we are. It's a crazy, crazy world that we're living in at the moment. If Erdegaard is our only case of COVID, then I totally agree with what Tobes has said at the top of the show. Why the hell are we not doing anything in the transfer window, and why have we let Maitland-Niles go? It's not their fault that Granit Xhaka's got sent off, yeah? That is nothing to do with it. Everybody knew the African Cup of Nations was coming up, and the only time that we needed to be busy in the transfer window was around fixture pile-up, which is the only time we're going to get fixture pile-up this season because we've got no Europe, which is in the Carabao Cup later stages, when the FA Cup starts, and when we've got a North London derby that's been in our fixture list all that time. And we've done nothing but let Maitland-Niles go and Balogun go. We've got players on loan, Torreira, Guendouzi, Saliba, Maitland-Niles, all could have come in to do a job in the last few games. But no, we haven't replaced any of those players, have we? It's a joke, mate. We've done nothing.
Listen, Torreira, Guendouzi don't want to play for the club. They're happy with it.
Replace them then, Kev. We've got to replace them then.
But what you must understand is, when the quality of player that you're trying to get, it doesn't happen overnight. These things don't happen overnight. But I want to come to Fawad and Tobes for the next part. Guys, are you guys the favourites now? If this game goes ahead, are you guys the favourites? Do you see yourself as the favourites? Obviously, you're the home team.
Personally, I don't. Not me. I look at our Spurs performances against the Morecambe side where we asked the B team to step out. I look at where we've asked first team to step out twice against Chelsea. Even under Conte during his early period, I haven't been convinced with the performances. It's just been kind of his DNA and character kind of getting us through games, I feel like. But Arsenal, you look at their last 2 performances outside of the Nottingham Forest, they played City and Liverpool and gave arguably two of the most characteristic best performances you've seen at Arsenal in a couple of years, to be honest. So I wouldn't see them even looking at this. Well, you could say, obviously, with the statement they put out, they are trying to down tools, but they could almost use it as an opportunity as, you know what, our backs are against the wall. Spurs are a little bit weakened after the let's go and get at them, because I still think Arsenal are dangerous enough to kind of get at us. And if Arteta does move around the formation, maybe to a back three again or something like that to cover the gaps we're missing in midfield, they can still work. I don't see us as the favourites. I think the only reason why people would put us as favourites is purely because we're home. But if you've been watching this Spurs team all season and you understand these players' inconsistencies, and we're talking even guys like Kane, who have the ability to perform quality one week and then go completely missing against Chelsea, it's all over this team. So against Arsenal, the previous two North London derbies have ended up 3-0, where you'd kind of hope this team would show some character or some kind of backbone, and they haven't. So I'm not confident enough to put my money on this team to say they could get us a result, to be honest, no.
Tobes, what's your thoughts? Are you favourites?
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry, I'm complete opposite to Fuad, and not because I disagree with what he's saying about the performances, but home advantage has to count for something. You're right. He's right. Our performances week to week have not been good, but the best team we've played in this run under Antonio Conte, vis-a-vis Liverpool, our performance was infinitely better than Arsenal's yesterday. Arsenal put in a good defensive rearguard performance, but we actually sliced Liverpool apart, like time and time and time again. Do you
not think that was partly because they were playing such a crazy high line and they had a midfield that was completely missing that day as well? Because they were playing,
but then I can look at yesterday and say they were missing Salah and Mane. Like that. Yeah. That's a huge, like, Salah's the top goal scorer and top assister this season. Trent just came back from COVID.
But you look at it, Arsenal were down to 10 men, but when we played Liverpool, they were the ones actually down to 10 men for the last 20 minutes.
No, they're only down to 10 men for the last literally 12 minutes.
Tottenham should have been down to 10 men out of 5.
We should have, but I'm saying 11 v 11. We conjured up a good performance there.
You did.
So
you played well.
Yeah,
they did. I thought we played well against Liverpool.
So I get it. In terms of fluency, Arsenal are way more of a fluid team than Spurs right now. Like, they're way more comfortable in possession. But I'm sorry, there's no way I can make Arsenal favourites when they're coming to our ground. This is the first time they're coming to our ground where there's 60,000 capacity. This is the first time they're coming to our ground playing Antonio Conte. They played a Nuno team with no midfield. They're playing a completely different manager. They're playing a team that have been much improved. Yes, we've played a lot of teams that we should be beating, but we are not the same side that we were when we played Arsenal back at the Emirates. So for me personally, as good as Arsenal are, I will back Conte every day of the week to do a number on them.
The thing is I feel like the Conte new manager bounce is almost starting to wear off now. That's the reason why over the last, especially 2-3 weeks, maybe, I'm looking at even his body language, and it's just more and more dejected game after game because he realizes the magnitude of this job. And I think that early kind of bounce we had with the performances and the character is starting to wear off now. That's the only reason why my kind of confidence is kind of not really with this team.
Well, let me go to Dan. Sorry, Tobes. Let me go to Dan then, because is midfield, Tobes mentioned midfield, is midfield our biggest issue right now?
Mate,
Dan.
100,000 trillion% it is, mate.
And how do we fix it?
Well, listen, he's got a couple of options. Yeah, he's got a couple of options, Mikel Arteta, if this game goes ahead, because we know Lokonga's playing. He's the only one we have got that's fit. Now that Granit Xhaka has done his madness, which I don't see how anyone's surprised by, we have now got to try and do something in midfield with either Charlie Patino, which for me is a no, or you try and bring Ben White or Callum Chambers into the mix in defensive midfield, because that's the only other option I can see. I don't want to drop Smith Rowe in there. Ødegaard is obviously an option, but he's now got COVID. So for me, it has to be Callum Chambers, because I don't really want to be playing Rob Holding in the defence.
So I would keep.
Well, but Lee, I don't know who isn't injured.
Yeah. I
haven't got a clue, mate. That's what I'm saying. I'm going from what I believe. I don't know.
If he was fit, I'll say what you're saying.
Do you see what I mean? If he's not fit, we're going to have to go with Patino. If he's not fit, we'll have to go. There's nobody else, is there? So we know I would have gone Maitland-Niles, but we decided to get rid of him, which was a madness decision. So yeah, it's going to have to be a makeshift whatever, Kev. And I do not see the game going ahead. But if it does, and Callum Chambers is injured, we are going to be stuck with Charlie Patino. Miguel Aziz has been called back. That's how desperate we are. Can't get in the Portsmouth side, but he's now been called back. So he's not going to go in. Patino's ahead of him for me because he's already played with this team and been training with them. So I think that if we don't see Ben White in there and Rob Holding as a centre-half, it'll be Callum Chambers in there with Ben White as a centre-half. They're the only options for me. If they're all injured, it's Lokonga and Patino, man, and that's scary.
Yeah. Lee, what's your thoughts on our midfield?
Well, it needs
problem
upgrading.
Position, isn't it? Real problem.
It is. You know what I mean? Like, listen, Dan's right. I think it's time now to move on from Granit. I'm not a hater of him and all that, but it's like I said it earlier on, and I'll say it now. Aubameyang keeps being late for turning up; he gets punished. Well, this guy keeps getting sent off and doing silly things, and it's a serial. Continues it to keep happening, but nothing's done, and he's sort of like come out and sort of defended him again today. It's a sending off. Well, it was a harsh sending off if it was a straight red for a dangerous play, but as it was a goal scoring opportunity, I don't think you can argue with it. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's the way there. The midfield is an issue for us, but so Spurs' best midfield player. And he would get into our team at the moment. Has been Harry Winks. He's been their best midfield player over the last couple of games that I've seen Spurs. I've been quite impressed with him. You know what I mean? Like so, midfield. Both teams are not great in there at this moment in time. And so if it was for me, if the game goes ahead, carry on playing the same back four. I know, just hoping that we know that he's not, but. Tommy Yasser will be the right back, Ben White, Gabriel, and Tierney. That's a solid back four, so I wouldn't mess with that. And then I'd put Callum Chambers in there if he was fit, and that's what I would do. But for me, that's where games like. Listen, Arsenal Spurs game last season, I rubbed my hands in when they played that on Dembele playing in midfield, and I rubbed my hands in it. I said, right, we can win in there, that's for me where we win the midfield battle, and we did win the battle, from that thing there, that Harry Winks would get over Patino at this moment in time, and he would get over Winston. He would get over anybody else because at the moment we've only got Lokonga, so someone's got to come into that midfield, and Harry Winks is better than nobody. I don't know why people slag off Harry Winks. I thought he's played really well the last couple of games. We've only got, when people say, "Oh, you're going to put in midfield," we've only got one midfielder. Can anybody work that out? We have one midfield player at the club that is currently fit at the moment. We're talking about bringing in central defenders or Patino. Anybody that wants to turn around and say that Harry Winks, Højbjerg, or even Skip are better than nothing at all, are not better than nothing at all, well, they're delusional. I'll have any one of them at this moment in time.
I thought that Skip's been better than Winks.
He said, I wouldn't they wouldn't get in Arsenal's team if we got our best players playing. But at the moment, we've only got one.
Skip,
you know what I mean? So we're struggling. We're struggling on. But listen, I will say this. We was going into this game with Granit Xhaka and Lokonga, and that ain't exactly perfect, was it? We knew that was going to be the two midfield players. If with the African nations coming up, we've lost two players. We've lost two players that would sit in there. Partey and El Neni. El Neni's not a starter, but he can come on and do a job last 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And so it's ridiculous that we've left ourselves in this situation in the first place. But I
think it's timing. The timing of Maitland-Niles going, and
ridiculous.
when you're trying to bring players in, it's a lot harder than letting them get out. I'm telling you, it's so much harder. Is there any super chats, Dan? let's just look at that. Is there any super?
Can I just say
Yeah,
something
chill.
like with Winston? Winston, we're not talking about if the players were fit. If the players were fit,
I see that.
you know, Partey and Xhaka would be, you know, in there, or Partey, and you know, the fact of them, we haven't got no players. We're talking about a game tomorrow, or sorry, Sunday. We got to go. We haven't got these players available. Like,
The body
I'll
ain't
tell
there.
you what, I'd have even chucked Jack Wilshere in with a chance. You know, give him a 1 week's contract or something. We ain't got no one.
Jesus. It's a worry when we're
Mad.
talking about Miguel Aziz coming back
Wilshere.
and Jack Wilshere coming back. Man.
Jesus.
I tell you,
Look at
Jesus.
Tobes and Flower. Look, smiling. Look, they're loving it.
The hell?
It's
They're
this
loving
guy's
it.
man,
The guy's
this.
been cheerleading on TalkSport for the past year. Now you're saying you want him in your team, mad.
Well, I'd rather
bring
have
him.
him than no one.
We will
I'd rather have him than no one. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I would rather have him than no one. Like, we haven't got no one. We're thinking about putting a central defender or a right back into centre midfield. You know what I mean? Like, we should never ever have put ourselves into this position. You know what I mean? Like, never ever should have put ourselves into this position.
Lee.
We haven't got no one.
Oi, Lee, you've got your new boots. Are you ready? Could you
I'll
go in
tell
there?
you what, I could do a better job than no one. I could do a better job than no one, and that's
Mate,
it.
maybe-
Like, you know what I mean?
Maybe Edu and Arteta are both going to come in midfield.
Well, Edu
you
could come in.
say.
Edu do a better job than no one.
Yeah,
He was a
true.
decent midfielder, by the way.
He was a
Yeah,
quality midfielder. Was a quality. Dan, is there any super chat?
Kev, there
Dan?
is one, man. I'm just going to read out Chaitanya's, who says that Arteta may need to play free at the back again. He's fed up with Xhaka. It may be a good idea to have to recall Guendouzi and Saliba. Cheers, Lee, Dan, and KC. Mate, brings up a good point about the players we're loaning out. I'm not saying bring them all back. What I'm saying is that I believe we should be getting replacements before we're letting them go out. So I agree what you're saying, KC, in terms of letting Maitland-Niles go. But I feel we need to be letting somebody come in before we do that. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but Dan, you see, that's the conundrum. Because when Roma come in and they say, okay, we want Maitland-Niles wants to go. If we say, right, we can't let him go until we bring someone in, they say, no problem. We have to look elsewhere because we need him now. That's your problem. That's why the timing for us is always going to be off. Let me ask the guys, Fawad and Tobes, what's your thoughts on Granit Xhaka? Because Arsenal fans some have had enough of him, some back him. What's your thoughts? Would you rather he played?
Do you know my thing with Xhaka is, yeah, Xhaka's typically the type of player I usually like. Those kind of grit and grind, will run through a brick wall, hard as nails. I love all that. But there comes a point when you have to find some sort of balance, some sort of maturity, have some form of discipline. And I just feel like with Xhaka at Arsenal, I don't know how many years he's been there now. I think about more than 5, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or so. But you just haven't seen that. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't feel like he's found his best role as well. I don't know whether he's a real world-class or top defensive midfielder like that. Is he really a great box-to-box midfielder like that? Can he be a little bit more of a deep-lying playmaker? No. So for me, there's still question marks over that. You're now at a more senior stage in your career, so we don't really have that room for development there. You still don't have the maturity and the discipline as well. So I don't know. I don't see when Arsenal, for example, had the opportunity to offload him to Hertha Berlin, all ties were severed. I felt that was the perfect time to be like, you know what? We tried. We've done our best. This is just a marriage that isn't going to work. Once he gave him a new contract after that, I just said, yeah, this is one of those. I just don't get it, honestly. Like, I just feel like Xhaka at Arsenal's story should have been long over. I don't know why you lot are still going through the same situations year after year and seeing the same results with no improvements. And it's like, at what point, when are you actually... And it's one thing putting out these apologies after the game saying, I'm sorry. But as we say, actions speak louder than words, bro. And time again, you keep letting the team down when it matters the most. So I'm personally, I'm a Spurs fan. I laugh at it, but there comes a point when I'm like, yeah, I feel sorry for them, man. It's rough out here.
Tobes, what's your thoughts on Granit Xhaka?
I think his departure for Arsenal has been long overdue for like 3 years now, man. Every single time you lot have the opportunity to let him go, you make a half-hearted attempt to sell him, and then you give him a new contract. I just don't understand it. Like, you can't. The thing with Granit Xhaka is I can't sit here and lie to you and tell you that he's a poor footballer from a technical standpoint. I think if you give him space and time, as you may do for most players in the Premier League, he can hurt you because he's not a bad passer of the ball, and he's got a decent strike on the ball as well. And of course, because he's left-footed, I think he gives your midfield more of a balance, where you have Partey on the right side of the midfield with the right foot, Xhaka on the left side, left foot. But my thing with Xhaka is, and this is not to say that he can't deal with a press, a high pressing team on the one-off. My thing is, over a 38-game season, he is not consistently capable of dealing with teams who press him high and press him relentlessly. We've seen time and time again, this guy, he folds under pressure. We've seen that whenever he's up against a team who have a strict and well-drilled pressing function, he reverts to safe and steady passes. The adventure of his passes goes down dramatically. So then you see a guy who's making safe passes, doesn't really progress your play, and on top of that, you're going to tell me he's going to give away the occasional penalty. He's going to get sent off once every sort of 7 or 8 games. The guy is not a net positive on Arsenal, and he hasn't been for years. In fact, he has never been a net positive for Arsenal since he signed. Why he is still at this club? He was signed in 2016. We're now in 2022. You've been complaining about the same things with Granit Xhaka for years and years and years, and he's still here. He's on a 3-game ban now, and he's gonna play as soon as he's back fit and available. He's gonna play. Yeah. So for me, you get what you deserve. Like, it's your fault for keeping this guy because he's shown you his true colors over and over again, and you keep rewarding it. So as far as I'm concerned, you deserve this. You deserve
round of applause. Tobes, mate, I've been saying this for 4 damn seasons. Exactly what you've just said. And then the guy threw the armband on the floor, and we're the only club I know in history that picked it up and put it back on his arm. It's unbelievable that this guy's still here. And listen, he had to play last night because we had no other option. But this guy is the reason that we're not in the Champions League. He hasn't kicked a Champions League football. Last time he did, we lost 10-2 on aggregate to Bayern Munich. He ain't got us nowhere near it since. This guy needs to be upgraded, and it is mistake after mistake after mistake. No matter, it's not just sendings off, by the way. It's penalties he gives away. It's ridiculous passes he gives away. It's the leadership that everyone goes on about is non-existent because my leaders do not do what he did last night and do what he did against Burnley, where he grabbed someone's throat, smash the ball against Chris Wood till it goes in, get hold of Son and absolutely annihilate him in the box and give away a penalty. This is not the way that I want to do this. This guy cost us top 4 a few seasons ago that everyone blamed on Aubameyang for missing a penalty at the North London derby when he took the Brighton player out and threw away our top 4 chances. That was Granit Xhaka's fault, but no one wants to say that. They want to blame Aubameyang for some reason for missing a penalty, who, by the way, scored 31 goals that season. It's an absolute sham, man. This guy he needs to go ASAP. I've had enough of it. I know Lee defends him sometimes because he likes the player, but I am done with the mentality or the lack of mentality of this geezer. I can't defend him anymore. I can't understand Arsenal fans who do. It's madness.
Lee, what's your thoughts on Xhaka, Lee?
I'm with you on it. Look, listen, I've met him. He's a nice guy. Really get on. He's a really nice bloke, and everything like that. I can't say that I like him as a person. He's a really, really nice guy, but he's making too many of these mistakes now, Kev. I'm afraid like it's one too many now. It's time for us to get an upgrade on him and all that. Like as I've said earlier on, if you've got a dog that keeps I was going to say something else. So let's say like biting up your chair, like you know what I mean. Like eventually, you're gonna have to give him a smack or something to stop him doing it because you're going to keep going. Oh, that's all right. I'll buy you another chair and you can rip that one up. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll get you another chair and rip that one up. Somewhere along the line, enough is enough. And for me, it's got to go now. Like I agree with what the lads are saying. You cannot continue to go, but again. You know, Mikel, and not just Mikel, all these managers seem to love him. And I watched him in the Euros for Switzerland. And if you was watching that game, forget about everything else. You'd go, cool, I'd have him in my team. He was brilliant in that, like, you know. But ultimately, he keeps doing it week in or not. I think I think it was Toby just said it's every 7 games or so, and it is. It's like, you know it's coming. Like, do you know what I mean? And I will say this about Granit Xhaka. Another thing about him, I think it's his name now. I'm going to say this now. I reckon if that was Van Dijk yesterday, I don't think he would have been sent. I think there might have been, we'll give him a little bit of a leeway on it. Harry Kane gets a lot of leeway because it's Xhaka. Oh, that's Xhaka. He has to go.
Reputation.
Now, I just think his reputation now and everything is just going against him. Maybe it's just best time for him and the club to move him on to, say, Italy or somewhere like that and get somebody else in, like, you know. And that's nothing against, you know, like what people are saying he's crap and all that. Like, it's just it's happening to me. And as somebody said, I think Steve said it when we was going home on the way home yesterday. It's always him, isn't it? It's always Xhaka. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, every now and then you might be Gabriel or whatever, but we're getting too many of these sending offs all the time. Like, you know, you look at it in isolation yesterday. It's a sending off. I don't think it's the worst thing that Granit Xhaka has done, by the way. Like, there's been other things that are a lot worse. It's just unfortunate but it's always him. And I do think that his reputations go against you at times. And for me, we've got to upgrade now. And I think this is the perfect excuse.
Yeah.
And the thing is I think, just quickly, I think you both hit a point as well where you said he's a better player sometimes for Switzerland. And I do think that is definitely, though, because at international level, the game is a lot slower. Mm-hmm. And it is a smaller dose in the summer when you've only got 4 or 5 games to kind of really gauge the player. I feel like that kind of suits him a little bit. And that's why he's always managed to shine at international level. But then, as Tobe said earlier as well, the pace of the Premier League, that press and that running around that they do, I don't think he's able to sometimes keep up with that. And as much as he has that passion and desire, the game is sometimes goes past him a little bit too quick, and that's how he gets caught out. Like yesterday's challenge, it was almost like he didn't even know the man was there, and he just flung his boot at it. It's like, come on.
And you know the crazy thing? I think he had a couple of looks at Jota. He had a look, and then he had another look.
Yeah.
As the ball went out to Robertson, then obviously he's in trouble then because it's a race, and he just was left wanting. Look, I think, if I'm honest, Granit Xhaka is the best partner for Thomas Partey in that midfield, but he's a liability. So we've got to change him.
Can I ask you a question, Kev?
Yeah, of course you can.
Right. Us fans are getting frustrated with him, like, because he gets it. What about the players? And you know, another time they've had to run their asses off, get, you know, for 70 minutes. As a professional, would you, if you kept doing that in your team, would you get the ump with him?
Lee, 100%. Not only would you get the ump, but think about this: who says with 11 men we don't win yesterday? Who says Liverpool are not the same without Salah and Mane? We all know that.
Yeah.
Who says we don't go there and win with 11 players? We'll never know because he puts us in a deficit. He puts us in harm's way. If it was the team I played in, I could tell you this much: he would have been with the under 18s long ago, because the manager wouldn't be able to trust him. You would not be able to trust him. And if you're not trusted, you don't play. Whether you think he's leadership material or whatever, you don't play. If we'd have threw the armband down and told the fans to do whatever, when I played, he definitely wouldn't play. That I can guarantee you. But we keep hearing it's a different time now. It's a different time now. Yeah, it is a different time.
It's a different time and all that. But what would you be saying in that dressing room after you've come into that game?
He won't play.
It's a semi-final, by the way. It's a semi-final. It's a chance of getting to the final. Are you just going to just say, come on, Granit, or are you going to say, this has got to stop?
Lee, we had hotheads in our team. But if you notice, it was controlled. It was controlled. When they got booked, they knew what they knew. Whoa, I won't do anything stupid that will cost the team. That's being a good team player. That's a good teammate. Getting sent off is sacrilege at Anfield. The lads bailed him out last night, as they always try and do. But do you know what? There comes a time where you're in the dressing room and you're looking at him and you're thinking, hold on a minute. You're the one who's supposed to be showing us the way. I.e. Aubameyang. Aubameyang was the captain and he's supposed to be showing the youngsters the way. He falls foul. Xhaka keeps getting sent off. Falls foul. These ain't players you can rely on. No chance. No chance. So listen, I want to get on to Tobes and Fowd. I want to ask them about their chances of the top four. Do you think you'll make the top four, guys?
It's in the balance. I don't think, if I'm being truthfully honest, I don't think Spurs are good enough right now to get top four. I think we've got a poor squad and a very inconsistent squad. And we've got like a mismatch of players. I think the only thing going for us is that we've got a supreme coach, and we've got literally, we're in the middle of a January transfer window where we can add one or two players that can help bolster us and actually give us a genuine chance to fight for this top four spot. But on the flip side, we're literally 2 points behind Arsenal, who are currently fifth. I think 3 points behind West Ham. We've got 2 games in hand over Arsenal. We've got 3 games in hand over West Ham. Okay, granted, we need to win those games in hand or get points, etc., etc. But top four is seemingly close. So by hook or crook, it seems like we're in this race. So I back Antonio Conte to try and make the most of the race, but I don't have faith in this team to finish in top four.
Do you think you will do Do you think you'll do business? And I'll flip it over to Fowd at the after. Do you think he'll do some business in this window?
He has to. I think he will. I think we will. But whether it's the full business that we need, that Conte wants, that's a different matter altogether. Like, we're linked with Adama Traore and Jesse Lingard on a free in the summer. Like, when we know we need a centre back, we know we need a central midfielder, we know we need a striker, we know we need a right wing back. Like, there's so many positions that we need. So whether the club will get serious in their pursuit of players that can actually inject a reasonable level of quality into the first 11 remains to be seen.
Okay, cool.
Tobes, I know you got to shoot off at 10, man, so you got going over to Big Six. Just give us a score prediction before you go, man, if the game does go ahead. What are you going for?
I'm going for 2-1. I'm going to back the lads at home, man. I'm going for 2-1. I think Harry Kane has got the bit between his teeth in recent matches, and I think he's itching to score against Arsenal. He's not scored in the last 2 games he's played against Arsenal, which have both coincidentally been at the Emirates, but I think he's going to right some wrongs on Sunday if it does go ahead.
Okay, Tobes. Nice one. Thanks for coming on, Tobes. Good
Cheers,
to speak to you.
Tobes.
Look
By
after
the way,
you,
Tony,
Tobes.
mate, the best pina coladas you'll ever wish to have. Ever get him to a party, get him on them, like, you know what I mean?
Pina coladas. Oh, nice one. Take care, Tobes.
See you later, man.
Cheers,
Cheers,
mate.
Tobes.
Peace.
Safe,
Peace.
bro.
Peace.
Cheers. Fowd, I'll ask you the same question. Spurs for top 4, and what's your thoughts? And do you reckon you'll do some business in this window?
I think the top 4 race, the only reason why we're even having this conversation is purely because United fumbling down the table. It's not because of Spurs' brilliance for me. And I just feel like, obviously, with the gap having opened, people are putting Spurs in that conversation. But start of the season when Nuno came in, I don't think anyone would have put us in that race. I think even when Conte came in and he took over from Nuno's situation, I don't think anybody would have put us in that race. And as Tobe said, I look at the quality of this team. I feel like the new manager bounce is now starting to wear off as well. And these players are going back to their kind of default settings, if you like. And I don't believe we have the consistent quality to do this all the way up until the end of the season. We've still got Romero out till February. We've got Son out till the end of the month. We're going to play Leicester. We've still got Chelsea to play as well. Teams that are all in and around us as well. So I personally don't think we'll make the top 4, but I'm not mad at that. It's not a failure of a season for me if it doesn't happen. For me, if we get top 6, which was the target I wanted, it's progression on last year. I'm not fighting in that conference league again, and it will be an improvement on that. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think anybody wants that conference league.
I was so angry when we lost that on the last day, and you guys avoided it. I was like, oh, we should have just give it to Leicester. But regarding business, as Tobe said, I feel like it's a must do. It's imperative. Like, I feel like the squad has been almost lacking in investment. You look at Spurs' net spend over the last 5 years, we're in the bottom 5. There is no way a club that finishes top 6 as regularly as we do should be in the bottom 5 of net spend. That's madness. And now you've got a director of footballing, which you brought in the summer. You've got a world-class manager in place. Use these tools that you have there now and put the money there that you need to invest, because this squad has been lacking investment since Pochettino was there. Pochettino was talking about you need to build the foundations correctly if you want to build the house. Cool. Jose came in and was talking about we need wholesale changes. They got rid of him before they could open a checkbook for him. They tried to take the cheap route with Nuno, and now they've got Conte in. And remember, Conte rejected us initially in the summer because he wasn't given that backing. And that's why he left Inter Milan.
Yeah.
He signed an 18-month contract because he's putting this board on trial, essentially. That's how I feel anyway. He's asking this board, let me see over these next 3 windows what you're willing to put forward for this project. And let me see how how serious you are about this ambition you talk about. Because it's all good giving it lip service, but you've got to put it up.
Do you fear it, Fowd?
Because I do, 100%.
Because obviously the chairman has a history, doesn't he, of not backing the man. Yeah. I mean, Pochettino, how we never backed Pochettino, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's crazy.
It's great for us as Arsenal fans, but you know, when you get into Champions League final, let me tell you something. You scared the life out of us.
Yeah,
you really did.
We can go back even further when it was Martin Jol and he was on the verge of 2 back-to-back 5th place finishes. Well, are you going to back him to go and push for that top 4? No, I'm going to sack him at halftime. Harry Redknapp gets you Champions League places. You want to keep that push going. Are you going to back him? No. So this is going on not just from Pochettino. We're going 20 years at this point. Jose came in, was meant to be the bigwig that you've been dreaming about since he was 2004. You didn't back him. You sacked him 6 days before a final. And I feel like now with Conte, who is, let's be honest, top 5 manager in the world, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. And I feel like we've tried to take this cheap route, alternative route. You now have to put your money where your mouth is. And I feel like if Conte does leave, Spurs are going to go down a spiral that I don't think we're going to maybe be able to come back from, in all honesty, for a number of years. Because we've already kind of seen the peak, I feel like, of this kind of Pochettino era. Now we're trying to find that new evolution, and we're just not able to be funded, essentially, is what we're being told. And we're constantly being told it's COVID or the club needs to... But I'm hearing we're building a 72 flat and a cinema outside the stadium as part of a stadium complex. So we've got money for that, but we don't have money to invest in the squad.
You'll have money for the infrastructure.
It baffles me. It baffles me. And that's the thing. It's like, you get Conte in. Is that just to kind of appease the fans for another year or 18 months or whatever? Give him what he needs to succeed. And especially when you see an opportunity like top 4 being open, when you never thought you'd be in the race, when Conte came in or at the start of the season, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Take the opportunity.
Well, I'll ask the same question to Dan and Lee, to be honest. Arsenal top 4, and probably before that, will Arsenal do some business? Because we're desperate. Will we, Lee? Will we, Dan? Will we do some business?
Well, I think Arsenal. I think that, like I've just seen on rumours here that Vlahovic is looking closer. That would be a good. Listen, I think it was right there. You look at it when the reason we're talking top 4 is because of Man United. I agree with that. I can't argue
deny
that.
Can't deny that, can we?
Can't deny that. You know what I mean? It was the top 4 was sewn up, but the capitulation of Man United has allowed the door to open for top 4. Arsenal have got a good chance of getting through it. I look at Tottenham and 2 years ago, I would honestly say this with Spurs, there was 6, 7, 8 players that were getting into the all 11 side. We were struggling to get players in an Arsenal, in a combined 11.
Combined 11, yeah.
Now it's the other way round. We've got the more players, and the reason because of that is that they've not really backed the managers as what they should have done. I think what they wanted to do, Tottenham, I think they, Pochettino, we all laughed at that because I'll be honest, the day I walked out of Spurs, White Hart Lane, the last time they ever played at White Hart Lane, they was unbeaten the whole season at White Hart Lane under Pochettino. It was the first time for a very, very long while I've walked out of White Hart Lane being outplayed, and I thought, my God, we're in trouble. We're in trouble with these. Like they was that good.
Yeah,
they went to Wembley. He never got a penny while they was at Wembley. You know what I mean? It's criminal, really, what they done to this man.
yeah.
And then, they got in a Mourinho, I think, to say, look, they thought he was elite, but could work with the players that he's got and bring them up to that. That's not worked. They've got Conte now. I don't care what anybody says about Conte. He doesn't look happy. I don't know if his wig shrunk while the white's out in the rain, but he does not look happy. You know what I mean? Like
The syrup, you leave it out.
The
syrup don't look good.
It don't look. I don't know, but he just doesn't seem happy. I think maybe that is because it's January. He's trying to make a point, but if you've been promised things and you've come and all that, would you be making a point? You know what I mean? It should all be happening, shouldn't it? So it'd be very, very interesting. This could blow up in Spurs' face if he walks. If he decided to walk, it could really blow up in Spurs' face, And listen, I'm not gonna, because he's Spurs manager. I was a big fan of him before he went to Spurs. I'm not now. You know what I mean? I don't want no wig-wearing managers coming to our football club. You know what I mean? Be bold and be proud. You know what I mean? That's what I say. But anyway, so for me now, it is. But ultimately, they're still in with a chance of top four because I think that every one of the teams challenging for it have got deficiencies. Yes. We've got deficiencies in our squad or whatever. Like West Ham, I think, are probably the best out of the three, if I'll be honest, as a team. But they've got that Europe thing, and maybe they could, unless they invest in a few players, that it could go wrong.
Their squad will get stretched.
Yeah, it will get stretched. But if West Ham do buy a couple of players, I think that they're very much in with a shout. So it's really, really tight in there. But Arsenal, if they can get the couple of players in there and play like they and run the club properly, we've got a very, very good chance because we have played some fantastic football over the last few weeks. Forget about the Notts Forest game; that was a cup. But I thought even yesterday we was dogged in defence, which I haven't seen for a long while. And I don't care. I've got a few Spurs mates and all that. They're getting worried about the Arsenal because they're seeing signs. They are seeing signs of a good defence. They're seeing certain things and all that. If Arsenal were to sign a couple of players that they're talking about, could be the game changer.
The difference, the game changer, difference maker. Dan, what's your thought? Top four, and will we get the right players in?
So I believe personally this Vlahovic thing is going to take very long if it happens at all. I have pretty much accepted that this may not happen, so I'm not going to be shockingly disappointed if we don't get Vlahovic this month because I think it's going to be a real push to get him. Lee says it's closer, which is promising news if that is true. I think we're more likely to get Arthur or Arthur. I call him Arthur, but apparently it's Arthur. From Juventus on loan. I feel that they're a team that wants him to play first-team football because he's not getting that at Juventus. Very highly rated from Grêmio, Brazil, went to Barcelona and was great. And then bizarrely did some kind of swap deal with Pjanic the other way. And it hasn't really worked in that kind of way for Juventus. So could be a risk because if you asked me now, do I want Wijnaldum or Arthur, I'd take Wijnaldum because I know what he's like in the Premier League. But if we're not going to go down that road and Arthur is the one we're going for, I could see that potentially happening. Lots of rumours that we're in advanced talks. It's whether or not we get that striker, Casey. And I believe personally when Bruno Fernandes went to Man United, it was that huge lift. I think that's what Vlahovic would do with Arsenal right now because we've had problems up top the whole season with players not being happy, players not signing contracts, players going AWOL and turning up late for training, and players being out of favour. So out of all of our strikers right now, there's not one of them that you'd say, wow, this guy's long-term Arsenal future. Probably Balogun, and he's just gone out on loan. Everybody else looks like they need out, or they want out, or Arteta wants them out. So for me, it's a position we need to strengthen as well as a centre midfield. If we get both of those positions covered, Casey, in terms of, let's say we sign Arter and Vlahovic, I think we are favourites for top four, but the pure fact that team is the best team, in my opinion, out of all of the others. I don't look at Man United's side and go, wow. I don't look at United's side and go, wow. I take 3 or 4 players. The rest of them, I wouldn't touch a barge pole. Same with Spurs. Kane and Son, after that, I don't want any of them. West Ham got some really good players. I love Declan Rice. I like Souček. I think Soufal's good. But we're talking about 2 or 3 players. Jared Bowen, another one I like. But would you really look at that and go, do you know what? They've got 14 or 15 players here, West Ham, Man United and Spurs. We can't touch them. They're too good. No, we're well in the mix of them. So I'd take us favourites. I think we've got the bad. It's all on the manager and Edu to do the business this month. And then I think we've got a great chance of getting top 4. And if we don't get top 4, I don't think it's been a great season, because I don't look at those 3 teams, Casey, and think they're scary. We can't compete. I think they're there for the taking, all 3 of them.
I agree. And here's a question for you guys. You don't qualify, Fal, because you've got the strikers. When's the last time we had a number 9 who scored regularly? It's 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
We've been without a striker who scored regularly for 2 seasons, and look where we are. We get one.
And that's why Spurs are where they are, Kev. That's why they're still in with a shout, because even though Harry Kane hasn't scored as many goals as he's still a threat, and they've got Song as a threat as well. You know what I mean? Like we need to bring in a number 9, and I think if it is Vlahovic and we do get him, I think that's a game changer. I really do think it's a game changer.
I want to ask though, what has changed in the Vlahovic situation? Because from what I understood, about a month or 2 months ago, him and his agent weren't picking up Arsenal's phone calls at all. Like they weren't interested in the move whatsoever. But now
that's what we're told, Fuad. But
it's Fuad. It's the game, mate. It's the game. It's the game. I don't pick up your at the start. I don't pick up your calls, but leave a message.
Okay.
I don't.
My thing is I'm looking at it and I'm thinking he's got 18 months left on his contract. He's not sure if he wants to sign a new one. I don't even think it would be in his best interest to sign with Arsenal. I think he might want to even wait till the summer to see what his options could really be, because he might be able to secure a bigger paycheck, bigger team.
That's why I think it might not happen
as well. Yeah, and that's why I think Dan is
like,
you're with one eye. You know what? I'm not really sold on it, but that's my thing. I'm thinking, would it even make sense for Fiorentina, who are trying to challenge for Europe this year, to sell their number 9 when he said that's his mission? Before I leave Fiorentina, I want to get them back in Europe. So I don't know about. I hear what you're saying, how much it would benefit Arsenal. But I don't know how realistic it will happen in January. January deals are always the hardest, I think.
I honestly think with Arsenal, and I might be wrong here, but you've got Saka, 20 years of age. You've got Smith Rowe, 20 years of age. You've got Martinelli, 20 years of age. He's 21. Odegaard, 22. He might be thinking to himself, they're very, very good players here.
I fancy some of that.
Yeah, I fancy some of that. My age, my group, and I can.
He can be the big
go on and do big things.
The big dog.
Go and do big things with a big club, and I do believe there's something in that. You know what I mean? I look at me and Dan are massive fans of Jack Grealish, but Jack Grealish ain't the big dog at Villa no more. Like, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden,
and at City,
at City now, he's not the big dog after he was at Villa. Sorry, and he ain't the same player. So maybe Ivanovic is thinking to himself, "I'll go there. I'm going to be number 1. It's a massive club, and there is. Listen, I don't care what anybody says. You play for a club like Arsenal and Spurs as well. We've got fantastic support. You go to an away game like Anfield, near all those fans yesterday. That want to make you want to go there as well yesterday. Like, I'm sorry.
I do agree that I do definitely still think Arsenal do have that pull, because you even saw it with Partey, let's be honest, where pretty much all the top teams in Europe were after him, but he said, "Nah, I grew up an Arsenal fan," and Arsenal will always have that kind of historic value, I think, where there will always be players who will be like, you know what, I want to be the guy who gets them back to the top. And as you said, there is that kind of young core. Even with the defense, you look at Tomiyasu.
It could be a massive thing like Ajax.
Yeah, I think this core that kind of Arteta's built from the 11 that has been playing the last couple. you guys might have that team for the next 5 years or so, or that will be kind of the core that you build around. But I do hear where that's coming from. But then I do think money talks in this game as well. And if City are gonna promise him 300 grand at the end of the year, you're gonna finally be Pep's 9, even though he's been playing without a striker for 2 years. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, do you know what? I honestly think this is one Arsenal have to break the bank for.
Yeah, they 100%.
If ever they're going to do it, they've got to do it now. No messing around.
Yeah, 100%.
Fiorentina are not blessed with a lot of money. You work out what they want for him. You try and get the deal done. It's always difficult in Italy because the player, the fans will absolutely, they'll go to your house. Do you know what I mean? If you sell the best players and all that kind of thing. So they've got to tread very carefully. That's why I'm not taking the calls and all that kind of thing. But I just believe if Arsenal want to finish in the top 4, they need more production up top. They need to get Vlahovic and they need to break the bank to get him. That's my thoughts. And if you go and get him, then we're a different proposition.
Yeah.
You're a different, that is, I can't lie to you, that is scary. If Arsenal get Vlahovic, that is very, very scary. Like, I thought at the start of this season, top 4 was locked off as like it's back to being a big boys club with Chelsea, City, Liverpool, and United. United falling off. You guys will slot right into that, I think, if you don't get Vlahovic, honestly.
Okay, Fal, let's get to it. If the game goes ahead, what's your score prediction?
My heart says 2-1, my head says 1-1. So I got to go with my head. I think 1-1 draw. I'm not going with the heart. I look at this team and I think we've struggled to create. We've struggled to score. Kane is coming back to form, but he's not firing on all cylinders. And I think you're trusting kind of him and Lucas Moura, who's been in arguably the best player since Conte's come in, to be honest.
Good
to kind of carry the load. So I don't think we're really high goal scorers, and being at home, I don't think we'll lose. So I think a 1-1 draw will be kind of, and with it being a 6-pointer for both teams, I think in those kind of high leverage games, you do see teams kind of just feel themselves out and sit back. And so I do think we could be in for one of those.
Right. Okay. Dan, what's your thoughts? Score?
Even if the game goes ahead, 2-1 Arsenal. I just fancy us. I just do. I said that we'd get through to the Carabao Cup final and I said that we'd beat Spurs. Mm-hmm. And I stand by it. I think the 0-0 draw has given us a great chance now going into the second leg at home to get to the Carabao Cup final. And I've seen Spurs play and it's woeful. I think even with some injury problems, we can beat them. So I'm confident, mate, even if it goes ahead. 2-1 Arsenal, man. 2-1
Arsenal. Lee, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if Arsenal had all their guns out and everything like, we'd be 2-1. If not, I'm going to go. I'm going to sit firmly on the fence. 1-1.
1-1. I'm going for Arsenal. I'm going 2-1. Do you know what? Is there logic to it? No, because I think we're weaker. We're weaker in midfield. Not sure who's going to play in midfield. But I just think we've got those 2 wide boys, and Lacazette tends to turn up to the game as well. And we've got a defence and a goalkeeper now. Whereas before, it was much of a muchness. You didn't even know who was going to turn up. Now we know we can defend. So I'll go positive and I'll go 2-1. Dan, is there any super chats for us?
Yeah, man, we've got a couple actually. The first one's a nice one from Usman, who says, big up the panel. Says, I hate Spurs just as much as any other normal human being. However, these two are always quality. No yelling or abuse, just real football talk. They're obviously talking about me and Lee Judges. No, I'm joking.
Can't be those Spurs fans.
And Cliff has said, we may or may not win, but we do not run from Shite Hart Lane, we play. He obviously wants the game to go ahead. As we all do, KC, let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, I know there's problems, but we all want to see ours. We've been waiting for this game for a few weeks. You know, it's always a big game. We want it to go ahead. It's a shame if it doesn't go ahead, but, you know, as we said earlier, if the rules are rules, and if it plays into the rules, then we'll have to postpone it and go again when we can do. But I'm kind of hoping we do play it, if I'm honest still. I ain't going to lie.
Foul, let me give you 2 scenarios then. What does it mean if you win? What does it mean if you lose? Mentally.
What does it mean if we lose? Is the wheels have fallen off at Spurs, and we've like this board, if they have not seen the last couple of weeks, the performances and how it's gone from new manager bounce to getting embarrassed in the Carabao and then North London derby defeat at home, if that's not rock bottom for you to go in the market and actually pull your finger out, I don't know what is. Now, if we win, that's taking over and into the top 4 race now. Now things are looking a little different and it's looking good. But for me, if we do win, I do think it is still a enjoy the day type of thing, but there is still work to do.
A lot
Definitely.
of work to do.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Lee?
Well, I think
A
it'd be
a win,
massive boost if we win. I think that'll
or a
push us
defeat.
towards. I think if we win, I think it'll push us towards top 4. I really do. I think it'd be a massive thing for top
lift.
4. Yeah, massive lift. We lose it, that's 4 games without a win. Win 4, don't win 4. You know what I mean? We're back on that roundabout. We've got to, start being a little bit more positive and all that. I think that if the game goes ahead, we've got to try and not lose it, and then go for Thursday. Realistically, if the game's off, it means we can rest a few players up for the semi-final, and that'll be better for us. I think in the long term, it'd be better for us if the game's called off than Spurs, because we ain't got no cup competitions after Thursday, only the final if we get there, where Spurs have got the FA Cup to go through as well. So, I think it's I do think it's one of the biggest derby games for a very, very long while. Now, you really want to see both teams having their best teams out there, but unfortunately, circumstances are not going to allow that to happen. But I still think it'd be a good game and it'd be a tight game, whatever happens.
I'll tell you my thoughts on it. My thoughts are, if Spurs win, Conte then goes, get the players in I need, because now we've got momentum on our side. That's for sure. And he's going to make some demands on the Spurs chairman, as far as I'm concerned. If you win, then you're pushing. And I think the same goes for Mikel Arteta. If Arsenal were to win the game, he's got to go, listen, we're performing miracles here with a depleted squad. Get me those players and watch us. I think that's going to be key. So a draw keeps us where we are, obviously, but if either side win, then obviously it's a momentum changer, isn't it? But Dan, is there any more super chats? Or is
that was the last one. I think you're right there. Just to come in on that quick, KC, because I think that whoever wins this game, I think puts themselves in pole position for top 4. I really believe that. I think Tottenham have got a great chance because of their manager. Arsenal got a great chance because they haven't got European football. And we've talked about United and West Ham's chances because of their squad and their spirit and the way that West Ham are playing at the moment. I think you're right. If we can beat this side, we should be put in pole position for top 4. I don't think we'll get it, personally, even if we do win. However, I think it gives us an opportunity to say, I'm still not sure we're going to get this. Vlahovic has a great, even more bigger chance of getting us top 4. So that's the way that I see it this window, mate, after the Spurs game.
Brilliant. Well, all I've got to say is, may the best team win, Arsenal. Fal, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your time. And thanks to Tobes as well. Tobes has gone. Dapper Dan, always a pleasure coming on with you. And Lee, the main man, always a pleasure speaking to you. And
Always
this is
a pleasure, Kev.
Chatting with Campbell, North London Derby special. We want the game on, but will it be on? We hope so.
We'll know tomorrow.
Come on, you Gunners.
Go on,
Look
you
after yourself,
Gunners.
everybody. Take good care.